I'm Tanitra Batiste, and 9 is no more for this season. So now what?
I'm Maria Martin, and wow, I thought things couldn't get worse. And here we are.
I'm Aaron Freeman, and we're doing real great here in Atlanta.
I'm Jarvis Davis. The Falcons better not be shucking around down there in New Orleans.
ATL! ATL! Rise up, A-Town. It's the Falcons Squad. Everything Atlanta Falcons every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the ATL. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Straight from the ATL, the Falcons Squad Show starts now.
Into the Falcons Squad Show, your home for the best Atlanta Falcons football talk. I'm your host, Tanitra Batiste. Alongside me, our Locked On Falcons host, Aaron Freeman, Locked On analyst, Jarvis Davis, and 11 Alive anchor, Maria Martin. The Squad Show is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So do you trust this regime to make the call on another #1 signal caller? We'll discuss. And how do you avoid another world beater performance against this Falcons defense? We'll debate it and learn to read the room. We'll download on that too. But first, stay focused. Stay thirsty, my friends. Michael Penix Jr. has a partially torn ACL, and he's done for the season. So now that it's official, after word kind of trickled out, minute after minute, it seemed like Monday, and ultimately we got the official word on Penix Jr. Wednesday. Jarvis, how hard will it be for Raheem Morris to keep this team focused on winning football games?
This is going to be the hardest thing that he's ever done as a professional. Because when you think about what's at stake going forward, it's not just getting a win against your rival down in New Orleans on the road. It's whether or not you're going to be around going forward. And I know that Arthur Blank has never really been the guy to do something during the season. I know he did Dan Quinn like that, but that was because he should have fired him after the previous season. So I don't think he came into this season with that in his mind about Raheem Morris specifically. So it would have to get really bad in order for him to do something during the season. But like, Raheem Morris has to do the best coaching job he's ever done in his life. Think back to when you were the defense coordinator for the Rams. What did you do? Like, what did Sean McVay do? What would Sean McVay do? That probably he needs to get that. And so put that somewhere up in his office somewhere and say, hey, man, what would Sean do in this moment? Because he's been known to turn some things around, getting off to a really slow start. So I feel like he's going to have to lean on some folks, lean on God, start praying, talk to the doctor that's going to work on Michael Penix. Like, hey, man, I need you to get for this guy to be back healthy, and those reports need to go directly to Arthur Blank, and hopefully those be some of the things that can save his job. But this is going to be really hard for him, and he's going to have to figure this thing out, because it ain't no more we got to fix it. Nah, dog, like, y'all got to win.
Yeah, Maria, for you hearing the news about MPX being done for the season, what do you think that means for Rod, just in terms of how he's able to keep this team focused on winning?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be hard for Raheem to stay focused. I think in the NFL, you go through so many different difficult things, and Raheem is no stranger to that. And so he has no other option but to remain focused. I think it's interesting that, it's Saints week. It's the biggest rival to the Falcons, and typically there's a lot of Aints jokes and, there's a lot of hate talk in the building. There's none of that right now, because your focus is on what is rock bottom in terms of the quarterback position for this franchise. And I think that that's really hard to overcome mentally. But I will say, for a 3-7 football team, the guys in that locker room, and I know people don't want to hear this, but they are truly tremendous human beings. And that's not enough to win football games. I'm not making that as an excuse, but they're very good about being close and trying to figure out, what it's going to take to win. However, just saying that doesn't help anybody. We got to go out there and figure it out. Like, everyone's tired of hearing that. You need to win football games, and it's got to start against the Saints. And especially when your back is so against the wall to the point where you thought that this team was going to make the playoffs. I came on here and I said, there's no way they're not going to make the playoffs. And let's be, I guess, very optimistic for a second. There's a very slight chance that they could, go on some crazy run and make the playoffs. It's just, there's no belief, I think, out there that could happen right now, as Jarvis is alluding to. So, I don't think it's going to be hard for Raheem to focus. I think what's difficult about the situation is there is quite simply not a lot going right for this franchise right now. That's probably the most difficult thing. And when you have somebody who you believe so heavily in Michael Penix Jr., and what you believed was your future, we'll get into that, whether or not we believe that that's the case, go down early in his career and have a season-ending injury just in year 2 in the NFL, that's so concerning. It's so hard to just look past that. But Raheem has no other choice but to focus right now. His job is on a microscope, as many people are in the NFL, but when you're 3-7, you've lost your starting quarterback and things seem to be unraveling. I think that it is all eyes on Raheem Morris right now and Terry Fontenot.
Yeah. And Maria, in terms of just Raheem and how he's able to keep this team focused, it sounds like you're saying, hey, the locker room's not lost, despite everything that's going wrong, despite the record, that team is still very focused on winning games.
Yeah, I mean, I really mean that. I was there on Wednesday, and the guys that I did talk to, there is nothing when it comes to finger pointing and this person's doing this wrong. Bijan Robinson even stuck up for Raw when I talked to him and said, that's my guy. We are going to figure this thing out. And I asked him, how do you balance the positivity aspect that people keep talking about? I know Kirk said positive vibes only. They said that on the plane on the way to Germany. That made people mad because when a team's not winning and you're just talking about being positive, it's where is the moxie? Where do you have that focus in, hey, we got to win football games, stop being positive? And so I asked Bijan, how do you balance? That's you guys.
You smile.
Love me.
What's wrong with you?
So I asked Bijan, how do you balance the, hey, this is a very positive group of people and a very positive locker room with, this is not good enough. We do have to win football games. And he said accountability is huge. Everybody's got to look in the mirror and take accountability for what's going right and what's going wrong. And so I think this is the right group of guys to do that. The problem is there are some pieces missing on this football team to really make it a great football team, no matter how many great guys, personality-wise and human-wise, you have in that locker room. So I don't think the locker room is lost. I think that it could get there. We're still 3-7. There's a lot of football in front of everybody to be played. But as of right now, these guys still believe that they're a good football team. They just have to figure it out. And they got to do that pretty much in 3 days.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe they get to figure it out by virtue of getting some people back. Mike Hughes getting back to full participation, Divine Diablo in there with limited participation on Wednesday. So maybe those are the types of things that help them to get back on track. But nonetheless, it's still on Raheem Morris, Aaron, on some level to make sure he's doing what he needs to do as the head coach to keep these guys focused. I mean, how hard will that be for Raheem, staring down the fact that, according to most statistics, there is about a 2% chance of this team being able to make the postseason?
Yeah, it's going to be, as Jarvis said, probably the most difficult task of his coaching career. And T, you mentioned getting some players back on defense, and so you feel pretty good about where the defense is at this stage. If they're going to be a lot healthier going into this Saints game, they've been on this sort of 5-game skid since Divine Diablo's absence, and getting him back, I think, will have a positive impact on this team this weekend against the Saints. And so, the interesting thing about this game, and given the issues that the Falcons are dealing with on offense, obviously no Michael Penix, Drake London's going to be out. This is the same scenario that kind of the Falcons had going into that Dolphins game in week 8, where on offense, and obviously that game, the defense gave up 34 points. And so you're probably feeling a lot better about this defense not giving up that type of point total to Tyler Shough, but never say never with the Atlanta Falcons. They always seem to be the get right game for teams. But, if they can hold the Saints to, 13 points or something like that, that's great. But the challenge is going to be, can you get more than 10 points out of this offense without Michael Penix, without Drake London? Because if you can only score 10 points and you give up 13, you're still going to lose the game, and you're going to have 6 games in a row, and everybody's going to be panicking because we know as Falcon fans, like, I was talking to people the other day about, whether or not, the team should tank or whatever in 2026. And someone was like, yeah, it would be great to lose every game. And it's like, no, as Falcon fans, the worst situation for this team is always 2-15, because they got to get 2 wins against the New Orleans Saints. They will never, ever, people will never, ever feel right about losing to the Saints, no matter the circumstances. And so if you lose to the Saints team, and Jarvis said it, like, things are going to have to get a lot worse. Well, 6 games in a row, losing to the Tyler Shough led Saints, no Michael Penix, no Drake London, no hope, no optimism. Like, I don't know if things can, we already feel at rock bottom, but a loss this weekend will be even lower than rock bottom. We're digging into the earth at that point. So I don't know if there's anything that Raheem can do at this point that hasn't been done over the last 5 games that they've been losing. So you just kind of hope that, 6 times a charm at this point in time, and the Falcons finally figure it out.
Fair enough. And of course, as you mentioned, this team is likely to go without Drake London because of the knee injury, the PCL sprain. He, of course, did not participate in practice yesterday. But Jarvis, when you look at this situation of Michael Penix Jr., and we're not talking about just him going down and being done for this season with this partially torn ACL. We're talking about the historical piece. 2022, we're not that far removed from it. 2020, we're not that far removed from it. Earlier this season, an injury that knocked him out for the game, we're not that far from it. So it starts to play in your mind that we're dealing with someone who has chronic injury issues. And again, let me just preface by saying this. We're not trying to be negative or pessimistic. We certainly have thoughts and prayers that Michael Penix Jr. has a full recovery. But the reality is the record speaks for itself in terms of his injuries, and whether or not you want to hang your hat on him as still the prospective or projected QB1, future franchise QB. All of that said, then, is there a possibility, and this is kind of a long-range question that we're going to get into from different angles throughout this show, you got to wonder if you've seen Penix in this Falcons uniform maybe for the last time?
Ooh, I don't know if I go that far.
So I'm throwing it back at you.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go that far, unless you're telling me the doctors that tested out everything throughout that pre-draft process have the Falcon-y, type, vibes going on in the doctor's office too, and they don't know what the heck they're doing over there. Unless you're telling me they don't know what they're doing and they need to fire their entire doctors, peoples and stuff that test out these guys. So I won't go that far. And I think that I feel like this kind of hurts a little bit more, because I felt like this season was a season for you to determine whether or not he's going to be your guy going forward. Because guys, they don't go through this whole 4, 5 years, 6 year when it comes to quarterback. If that dude ain't showing that he's the guy after year 3, these folks are moving on, and I think that some people who weren't necessarily on the Michael Penix bandwagon, and you don't have to be, that's fine, are acting like this dude is Josh Rosen. He's not Josh Rosen. He's showing you that, hey, this dude can play some football. It's just the injury piece. You don't know where that's going to go. If that's the reason why you're telling me you want to move on for me, I kind of get that. I get that. But if you're asking me just strictly from a football standpoint, has he played his last game in a Falcons uniform? I don't think so, because I feel like there is something there, because the man was on fire before he even got hurt. He had a 91% completion rate, and the 9-to-5 connection was cooking. And I think that people want to go off the deep end and forget like what they saw. Like those are the facts. Those are the facts of the case. He's shown that he can be the guy. So no, I don't think that this is the last time we see him in the Falcons uniform.
And Maria, what about you?
I think that's really hard to say. This is somebody that has had 5 season-ending injuries in 8 years. And one thing that I want people to keep in mind and remember is that, there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, why would you even sign a quarterback like this? Why would you even take a quarterback like this if, he's getting hurt all the time? The NFL is not going to take chances on guys that they don't believe can stay healthy. Okay. There's too much money involved in the league. So we got to stop talking about that, point blank period. The doctors that Jarvis is talking about did what they thought was right, and they did all the testing and he was fine. But he's now hurt again. He's had 2 ACL injuries in the right, now 1 in his left. He had shoulder, and it's becoming clearly a chronic issue. Not that it wasn't before, because clearly 4 injuries prior to this year, that's a lot for any player. You start to worry about what he looks like now when he comes back, and you just never know. ACLs are so much easier to come back from now than they ever have been. He's done it before multiple times. Obviously, he'll tell you that. But you have 1 in each knee now. You have missed more time that I think is critical for him in developing as a quarterback. He's only in his 2nd year, his first full year starting, and now he's going to miss potentially 9 months. I don't know. I think it's really hard. And I think, Raheem was asked, does it change your approach to the quarterback position in the offseason? And he said it has to. We'll get into that, of course. But I think it's tough to say it's the last game that we've seen of Mike in a Falcons uniform. But I will say I'm starting to come around to the idea, not that I ever wanted this to happen, by the way. I hate it more for Mike than anybody on the planet. But I'm starting to come around to the idea that it's possible Mike is not the future for Atlanta.
I think that's a fair way to put it, Aaron. Like, you don't necessarily want to come out right and say, hey, it's the last time you've seen him in a Falcons uniform. But on the same token, you can't quite not think about the fact that he might not be the future QB, the franchise QB. And then what maybe makes it a little bit challenging to not think about that is the fact that you don't have just one, but two quarterbacks that they were like high risk, high reward, right? And now you're sitting squarely in the seat of high risk that did not pay out with high reward. So I think those are maybe the reasons that it makes it a bit more of a valid question than maybe, that's just kind of shooting out there, because you are staring down 2 QBs that cost you a big draft pick and a big bag, and you're walking into a Saints game hoping, wishing, praying that you get a win.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with Penix coming back is, where is the certainty, right? You mentioned the injuries, right? Like, you can't be confident at this point that if he comes back healthy at whatever timetable it is, that he's going to stay healthy in the future. Jarvis talks about, well, these guys only get 3 years. Well, I don't even think guys get 3 years. You get 2 years. If you're not doing the job at the quarterback position by the end of your 2nd year, teams are going to be like, I don't think this guy has it, unless like they are locked, unless you're a coaching staff. Like, basically what I'll say is this: if Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are here, then yes, they will remain committed to Michael Penix. But I think at this rate, I don't think there's any reason for people to think that they're going to be here. And if you bring in another coaching staff who have no loyalty to Michael Penix, and they're just be like, oh, well, we're just going to wait for Penix to come back at whatever time next year, and he's going to be our guy, unquestioned starter. Like, that's not realistic at this point in time. Now, maybe that's the case. Maybe Penix comes back early, maybe, whatever. But like, that's what I mean, where it's like, there's no certainty at this point in time. And so I think when you ask the question, has he played his final game? Probably not. But this was probably the last time that you felt certain that he would be the starter here in Atlanta. And so everything after this point is kind of, it's a similar situation, the Colts and Anthony Richardson, where he couldn't stay healthy. He couldn't stay on the field to get the reps that he needed to develop. Michael Penix was not as raw coming into the NFL as Anthony Richardson is, but we've seen from this year, he needs reps. He needs time to develop, and he's not going to get that over the next 9 months and potentially the next year plus at this point if he can't stay healthy.
But Free, that's actually probably the best example that you could possibly give as to why there's a possibility Michael Penix Jr. wouldn't be here, because Anthony Richards, same kind of situation. A Bijan Robinson, a Jonathan Taylor. You've got solid wide receivers and you've got youth on your defense. So you have like a core with the Colts that puts you in the possible realm of being a playoff contender. You just don't have a quarterback that can get you there. So what do? Go get yourself a quarterback that can help you get you there. And that's why we're having conversations about the Colts being one of the top AFC teams. You could argue that the Falcons are in the same position. I just said, got a quality wide receiver, got at least one quality running back, got at least one quality wide receiver, and a youthful defense. So it makes you kind of ask the question of whether or not there would be a potential reset at QB, because you just don't have time to wait and see. Do you trust this regime to then make the call on another number one signal caller? We'll talk about that when we take it under further review. This episode of our Falcon Squad Show is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and right here in Georgia. And if you're using Prize Picks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs, keeps the game very exciting, and you can pick your favorite players to see how many predictions play out. And the new stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick more on, say, Stephen Curry's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup, or Jalen Johnson's triple doubles or double doubles. So if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the good thing is you can also use the injury reboot that saves your lineup from a loss. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thank you for making the Falcon Squad Show your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. So Raheem Morris said in his presser this week that you do have to change your QB plans in the offseason now with Michael Penix Jr.'s injury. Morris said that they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. But Maria, how hard is it for you to fathom, just as we were talking about earlier, this current regime making another decision on the QB position should that rear its head, which it looks like that decision is imminent?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's totally fair to give pause to that thought, whether or not they can get it right, because let's be honest, we all liked the Michael Penix Jr. pick. How it went down is a different story. We liked the idea of him being quarterback. We still do, when he's healthy. The injury is an unfortunate turn of events for Mike. But you had Kirk Cousins. That didn't work out. You had Michael Penix Jr., the injury you couldn't foresee coming for a whole plethora of different reasons. And so now you're stuck in what you called earlier, high risk, high reward. If it works out, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you're an idiot. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it happens a lot in coaching. It happens a lot in the NFL. You got to swing big in order to get where you want to go. You're going to miss sometimes. And it does feel like a conglomerate of misses for the Falcons. And I think that's where the biggest frustration lies, especially at the quarterback position. When you don't have a quarterback in the NFL, you don't have a lot. It is such an important position. I've said it before time and time again. I think it's the most important position in sports, but it's one that's so difficult to get right, and one that changes the entire trajectory of your franchise if you get it right. The problem now lies with the Falcons not having a first-round draft pick next year. What do? You go into the second round and you hope somebody falls out of the first, and someone that you can grab in the second round works out and becomes a starter for you for a long time. Is that possible? Of course it is. Look at all of the quarterbacks who have had massive amounts of success that aren't first-round draft picks. It could happen, but based on the last year and a half of the decisions that people have made, there is no reason for people to believe that it can. That's not saying it can't. It's just, given the track record over the last year and a half, it's hard to believe that that situation is going to work out in the best way possible.
Yeah. And even in addition to that, Aaron, you look at the fact that you could make the argument that I'm going to use Maria's term, swung big in going after Kirk Cousins, and that didn't work out. So whether it's going after a QB in the draft and hoping that they could potentially make a great decision in the second round, if that's where they land, or going out into free agency and either making the right choice on a guy that could be a solid starter but move back into being a solid backup, or maybe he could be your franchise QB. It's like, at this point, do you trust the regime either way to make another good decision for your guy who's going to be under center?
The simple answer, T, is no. They took 2 big swings at the quarterback position with the idea of we're going to double dip, double our chances of hitting. If just one hits, we bat 500, we're good, right? Yeah. And you can certainly say, because of Kirk's injury, because of Michael Penix's injury, bad luck is why they have whiffed on these 2 swings, right? And so, why not give them a third swing of the bat and see if they strike out? But the problem with that is, why would you give them that? It would be a different conversation if the Falcons were winning right now and you felt good about, okay, like, even though their 2 big swings didn't work out, the floor is still high for this football team. And again, we can just kind of drop any quarterback, or not any quarterback, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we could just drop a guy into this situation, and that would lend credence to what Maria is saying, where you feel, some confidence, some optimism of that being able to work. But given the big swings, given the struggles of this team and disappointment on the field as we sit here today, what are you trying to sell people on? Like, oh, well, some second round pick is going to magically save the Atlanta Falcons. Well, we've been down that road. That was Desmond Ridder, third round pick or whatever. Some mid-tier veteran quarterback is going to step in and lead this team to the postseason in the way that Daniel Jones has done to the Colts after their big swing for Anthony Richardson. Okay, we've been down that road too with Marcus Mariota. So there's no real sell that you can give, at least to this fan base at this point in time, that, hey, just give us a third swing of the bat and we'll definitely nail it. Because what other swings have you worked, right? They keep talking about, hey, I know this is a separate conversation, but like the James Pierce trade, right? You can talk about whether it's worth it or whatever, but what did they say after the trade? We don't plan on picking this high ever again, right? Or that was what they said after the Penix trade, and then it's like the Pierce trade, like, we're going to be picking in the 20s, so don't worry about it.
Right.
That pick right now is the 10th overall pick, right? Like, so every time this team tries to sell you on, or this regime tries to sell you on a big idea that they have, it always blows up in their face. And so if you're sitting there going, like, another big idea, go get another quarterback and go out there and bridge the gap between now and when Michael Penix comes back, and then he's going to come back and save whatever. And it's like, I don't buy it. It's just BS at this point. So that's why, like I say, like, no, you can't sell me on the idea that this current regime gets another opportunity to take another swing at this.
Jarvis, do you want this regime to be in control of potentially getting a quality backup QB or a potential franchise QB replacement for the franchise QB they'd already gone after, and the quality QB one that turned into not even a quality backup? We're just going to go with backup. I mean, do you trust them to do that?
T, I'm not going to give you a short answer. But you're gonna feel me though.
Okay.
I want to take this opportunity to say that I did not want Kirk Cousins. He's 35 years old.
With that,
35 years old, coming off his first major injury of his career. Man, I played a little football. You don't get better after you get hurt. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. That Adrian Peterson piece that is anomaly. Like, that will never happen again, probably. And we have better medical science, out there now than we did back then. So for me, I feel like that was the first mistake, right? And then, or the first strike, if I can use Aaron's analogy, that was the first strike. Then you come with the whole Michael Penix piece, and I'm thinking, okay, if you're gonna go the vet route, all right, go and get you a pass rusher then, with that top 10 pick that you had. But no, you want to double down on the quarterback, and I like the quarterback, which brings me to the conclusion that I feel that Arthur Blank should probably come to at this point, and I've wavered back and forth. Man, y'all just gonna have to sit in it, man, because guess what? If I fire you, I ain't got no first round pick anyway to replace. Get your quarterback, because that's the biggest thing about this whole team that's been going on ever since Matt Ryan left. You don't have a quarterback, and you can't get a quarterback. And trying to get one outside the first round, trusting this regime to pick that? No. So, no, I don't trust them. And I think that this is probably going to be hard to swallow. But if I'm the GM, if I'm the owner, I'm sitting here like, yeah, guys, you're going to have to figure this thing out, because you already traded the first round pick away. So we can't get a quarterback. So y'all going to have to figure this thing out. And the salary cap, Terry, figure it out. Bring in some cheap quarterback and to bridge the gap until Penix gets ready. And then for those final 13 games that he's healthy, we're gonna evaluate from there. And then go on and move on, because this is a poopy situation, and I feel like they're gonna have to sit in it until they come to a conclusion about what they're going to do going forward.
Well, Maria, maybe Raheem being able to, quote unquote, sit in it will be predicated by what happens in these last games of this season. So when you look at those last 7 games, do you feel like, not even going into the offseason, not even going into the draft, but before we get there, are these 7 games going to dictate whether or not he even gets a crack at an opportunity to, quote unquote, partner with Terry Fontenot and be co-builders for this team next season?
It's a tough question. I'm not totally convinced that Arthur Blank wants to do another head coaching search right now. Ra's not even been here for 2 full seasons. Ra is very much Arthur Blank's guy. He likes him a lot. Vouch for him to come back to Atlanta, excuse me. And I am not convinced that Raheem's going to be fired. And for a lot of the reasons that Jarvis kind of just mentioned, because let's say you do, which is what a lot of fans want, and that's fine. They're 3-7, and this is just derailing itself by the second. What does it fix, really? Except for that you have new hope in another head coach, but there are so many situations that Jarvis just laid out that can't get better if someone just comes in. I mean, you hope that it does, for sure. But the situation that's been created and would be gifted to somebody else to go fix, I don't really know what that does for your franchise. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just, as we sit here today, what day is it? Thursday, November 20th. I don't see Arthur Blank firing Raheem Morris. I don't. And now, that could change. It could totally, completely unravel itself. I think there's still a lot to play for this team, specifically selfishly. If you're Kirk Cousins, you got a ton to play for, okay? You want to go out there and you want to prove that, okay, these games that I've, to keep using baseball analogies, pinch hidden over the couple of times that I have this year, haven't looked that great. So if I've got 7 opportunities to go out there and prove to a bunch of other franchises that I still have a chance to play football, what an opportunity that Kirk has been gifted right now. And so there's still a lot to play for, even though, playoffs are, as you mentioned, probably about a 2% chance and really, truly in the rearview mirror. Long-winded answer to say, Raheem obviously is, you're always coaching for your job. That's not BS. It's not some stupid thing that we say every week, but it's true. You really are always coaching for your job in this league. And I'm sure he wants to prove people wrong too. People are now saying, look what happened. You get the same result that he had in Tampa whenever he was so young and really just had an opportunity to be a head coach a little too young. And I think he wasn't ready for it at that point. Well, now he feels ready. A lot of people vouch for him to come back to the city. he wants to prove people wrong too. You know, there's a lot to play for in this scenario for a lot of different people. I just don't know if Arthur Blank has it in him to make a coaching change at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with Maria in this sense. I think it's definitely an open question. It's not a foregone conclusion that ownership is going to move on for Raheem for all the reasons that she said. Now, as I can only speak for myself, I've already moved on from Raheem. I don't think there's any
Look at your whiteboard. It says, I did my waiting. I did my waiting. You literally have it for everyone to read behind you.
And so
Ruthless.
I don't think to me there's no there's no upside with retaining Raheem. And I remember on Monday you talked about Arthur Smith getting 3 years. And the way I would argue that is like, because in the second year, the Falcons played better football than they did in year one. There was a trend upward. Then that trend fell off a cliff in year 3, and that led to him getting fired. But you're getting that fall off a cliff in year 2 for Raheem. Like, why are we sitting here going like with the trend going down, being like, well, it's going to shift the opposite way? Like, that's the part I don't quite get. And so basically, unless this team can circle the wagons and run the table over these last 7 games, like what am I buying into? And then even then it's like, you couldn't do this 5 weeks ago. Like, what's going on, you know? Like, and so like basically I've already moved on from Raheem, but I think it's definitely an open question whether ownership is ready to make that move. I don't think if obviously today the answer is no, they're not, but we'll see where we are, you know, in that first week of January when we get the Black Monday.
Yeah, and maybe the bigger question, maybe the easier question, but you guys won't answer it now. I'm just throwing it out there for rhetorical purposes. The easier question might be, is Terry Fontenot the one that is closer to out the door and flowery than Raheem Morris? But another question for another day. So how do you avoid another world beater performance against this Falcons defense? We'll unpack that in Next Up. This episode of our Falcons Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps everything exciting, and especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel. And again, even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who'll score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Hawks take on the Spurs tonight, and the Hawks have been known, although they lost a close one earlier this week, they definitely have put together some fourth quarter comebacks so far this season. And you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Free, the last time we saw the Falcons defense, they got torched, burned by Bryce Young for 448 yards and 3 touchdowns. Had dude looking like a world beater. But that said, how does Jeff Ulbrich avoid letting the same fate happen to this Falcons defense when they take on Tyler Shough and the New Orleans Saints this Sunday?
Well, I think the first thing, he's got to stop rushing 3 like he did last week. The Falcons did that in the infamous Week 18 Jimmy Lake game. We're just going to drop 8 and not believe that Bryce Young can carve up this defense. And this is the most blitz happy defense in the NFL. And for some reason, Jeff Ulbrich was like, you know what? That Jimmy Lake strategy was pretty smart. Let's just drop 8 and not blitz and it'll work. And it was just like, what is happening? And so that's one thing. Heat up Tyler Shough. He's a rookie. He is watching that Carolina game where they beat the Panthers. It's a lot of him running around, him heaving up bombs to Chris Olave. It's a lot of, boom bust with Tyler Shough. And we've seen a boom bust rookie quarterback in his first start. This will be Shough's second start. And Will Levis a couple of years ago do basically that formula and carve up the Falcons. So don't do that.
Can you throw 4 touchdowns?
Yeah, don't do that. Look at that game and say, we're not going to do that. So I think they need to be aggressive. I think getting Divine Diablo back, if he is coming back, been activated from the IR. Can't trust Raheem with injury information, but we'll see. It's trending in the right direction. This is the only thing that gives me optimism.
Week to week, baby. Week to week.
So I'm going to give Raheem the benefit of the doubt. This is the last time, Raheem. If Divine Diablo does not suit up this Sunday, we're done. We're done. Never again. But you get the benefit of the doubt with Divine Diablo. He's going to play. The domino effect. Now you have a guy that can spy Tyler Shough if he does to get outside the pocket, right? So that we won't have Daniel Jones running for 19 yards on the 3rd and 21 like we saw a couple of weeks ago. You have a linebacker that can actually cover Alvin Kamara, on these screen passes, so we don't get 28-yard screens in the fourth quarter to Rico Dowdle, right? The Divine Diablo, and then you have, he can cover Jawan Johnson, so you're not having Hunter Henry carve you up. So basically, Divine Diablo potentially solves a lot of problems that have played the Falcons in the last couple of weeks. And so if you can get him back to playing the way that he played the first 5 games, the domino effect that I think that creates for your defense to allow them to be the blitz happy team, to be the coverage team, to be the good tackling team, all the things that we haven't really seen from this team over the last month comes back. And if you can do that against a rookie quarterback in Tyler Shough and not let him pull a Will Levis on you or Bryce Young on you, you should be good. But it's the Falcons, so you can never trust hope at this point.
So Jarvis, I'm going to say a very Jarvis-y type of statement.
Okay.
How do the Falcons avoid Shough shaking them?
They better not shuck around because they're gonna shuck around and find out if they don't come like Free mentioned. You got to heat this cat up, man. You can't go in here being all passive and stuff, man. I understand that you have some injuries in your secondary, specifically on the opposite AJ Terrell, which has been that's just been the spin the wheel of Jags for so long. Matter of fact, the entire career of AJ Terrell, he's had to play with just another guy on the other side of him. So, you got to forget that. You got to trust that your guys up front are going to get there. And I think that's where it really starts. Not only manufacturing pressure, your guys got to rush. They got to rush as a team. They got to keep them in the pocket because when New Orleans played against Carolina, New Orleans had a couple of injuries up front, and Carolina was able to take advantage of that consistently. Now, I don't know if my man's name, who I'm not going to even try to pronounce, I believe he's questionable this week. I think Fuego, one of those, you know what I'm saying? I believe he might be out there, but if he isn't, and that backup is in, I need number 11 to please stand up, and 27, I need you to stand up too, sir. Both of those guys need to crank that thing back on up and start to really prove that they belong. I mean, I feel like they belong. More so, number 11. I feel like he's going to be that guy. That's just me. That's what I've been saying for the past year. And Jalen Walker, his son is actually playing for the Saints as well, Kevin Banks. So when you think about it from that aspect, hey, this has the opportunity for them to really have that game where you say, man, these 2 first-round picks, whew, the Falcons got. Oh my gosh, that can be something that could potentially make Terry look like, hey, maybe it was worth it or not.
By the way, Fuego, who's dealing with an ankle injury, did not participate Wednesday. So we will see, like you said, whether or not his injury status is downgraded to out in the coming days. But Maria, that said, you just don't want to see it. But we know there's every possibility that once again, on the Hawk side, we call it RRP. the random role player. Like some guy who's just random will smoke the Hawks out of nowhere. And then we're talking about a defeat, right? We're talking about an L. How does Jeff Ulbrich ensure that this random role player that's been thrust into a starting position does not end up giving the Falcons yet another L?
Couple things here I was thinking about when Jarvis was talking. Number one, you talk about AJ Terrell, and you know, the idea around the cornerback position is that you're on an island a lot of the times. This man is on an island so far away. He is by himself. He is by himself out there, and it has truly been not enjoyable to watch. And I think, you know, the secondary struggles for the Falcons is a lot of the reason why they are trying to blitz as much as they are. They are trying to get to the quarterback as much as they are and wreak havoc up front, because the secondary has just been quite unimpressive, I think, at times this year. So, yeah, I mean, look, they hit the nail on the head. You got to make this kid uncomfortable. I saw a Saints outlet write that they have the blueprint to, quote, torch the Falcons. If that's not motivation enough, because we're going to be talking about the Falcons defense getting torched again.
They've been talking real greasy too, by the way, Maria.
One
of the guys they were talking to, I think it was Reed.
Yeah.
He was like, the Falcons, and I'm still trying to figure out how they were recovering from 28-3. I was like, bruh,
you know,
it's just like, they just strong. It's very strong. It's so extra. I'm just like, man, if y'all don't have any type of motivation, now professional football players, do your job. Yeah, that's enough motivation. You get paid on Tuesdays or whatever. Sure. Yeah, do your job. But oh my gosh, man, they're just being disrespectful right now.
Yeah.
That is
awful. No, I mean, that's a good point. And I think, like I mentioned before, the Falcons haven't even mentioned the Saints once, maybe twice. I mean, Kirk was asked about it once, and everybody else is just focused on everything else that's going wrong inside that building right now. So maybe that's a good thing for the Falcons. You know, let's look at it that way. But no, I mean, you have an opportunity to make a rookie look like a rookie. And this defense has had a lot of criticism the last couple of weeks, and rightfully so. And so this could be an opportunity for the Falcons to really, really turn the corner defensively, and they're going to need it. I mean, you're going to have a Kirk Cousins who has not played a full game of football with the Falcons for a long time now. He is going to come out and not look like what he did when he set a franchise record for the Falcons. It's just not going to happen. And so I think the defense is going to be, they're going to be tasked with a very big job of trying to make sure Tyler doesn't have this coming out party and solidifies what the Saints are trying to accomplish on offense and in the division. So, you know, that to me it's huge. It's a huge task for this defense, but I believe if they can have these pressures like Jarvis is talking about and try to minimize the exploitations in the secondary, they'll be good.
Yeah. And I think, Free, when you kind of look at it, you're thinking, okay, maybe there's some bulletin board material there. Maybe you just have pride, but ultimately speaking, or maybe you're Jeff Ulbrich and you say, I'm going to go back to what works for me, and I might get my guys back that can do that. You even see D'Alford. I know Jarvis loves this. He was able to practice at least limited participation coming off the concussion. So there are some opportunities there. Leonard Floyd is even listed there as limited participation yesterday. So hopefully all the things might mean Shough won't shake this defense.
Maybe. We'll see. I think that's the only thing we got is this defense is going to be healthy and playing like a top 5 defense again. That's it. That's all I got at this point. Nothing else. If we don't get that, it's going to be the saddest Thanksgiving in the Freeman household that's ever been. My mental health is going to be through the floor.
And the fact that T said that, I know Jarvis gonna like this, D'Alford was a limited participant. Golly, man, that makes me think that that makes people think that I think D'Alford is all world corner.
No.
Sorry. No. It's fine. It's fine. Like, people who comment, stuff like that, those are the people that think like that. All of the majority of our audience who are very smart people, and they understand our conversations and where we're coming from. So, I know they don't think that I think that D'Alford is that type of guy, but that shows you where we are.
But exactly. But that does show you when we're all like,
that's where we are. We hoping that
because
D.
Offer might come back. Like that's a telltale sign of the state of affairs. Period. But you know what? I love Jarvis that kind of in there. You read the room because you understood that, hey, some might understand what Tanitra means about D. Alford, some may not. But there's somebody that really needs to learn to read the room, and we need to really give him a little coaching, and we'll do it on the other side. So Kirk Cousins said earlier this week, he feels good health-wise. Good for you, Kirko. But then jokes, quote, I'd never tell you if I didn't until after the season, probably. What the? Can I say HE doubles hockey sticks?
Yes, you can say
what the hell? I mean, Jarvis, does 18 not know how to read the room 14 years into the league? This takes the time for kicks and giggles, my friend.
So I've you know how I like to give people nicknames. So his name is no longer Kirko. Okay. His name is Kirkington, because after seeing that playlist from yesterday, I have it pulled up here, Maria. So Backstreet Boys, Good Charlotte, Gym Class Heroes, and Yellow Card. Like, who the hell are those folks? Where they come from? What genre is that? I'm so lost right now. So
if early 2000s, like rock, like grungy indie, like
yeah. I knew 3 of the 4.
But every time I've gone to Flowery Branch, I hear a lot of familiar music. You know what I'm saying? I can imagine all the other Kirkington's, his other teammates, when they heard that music. Because, we keep it funky on this show. Just how this show is 75% black. You know what I'm saying? 75% black in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? This what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we do. We keep it funky. And I just don't, Backstreet Boys, like if I'm hearing Backstreet Boys at practice, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I'm done. I got to go.
Wait, are you insinuating that is also my playlist?
I was just about to say, I think Maria's playlist is a little bit more versatile.
So
I'm just asking, Jarvis, because I'm a little confused.
25% on the show does not represent the 25% for the Falcons. Little different.
Wait a second.
My friend.
You're trying to get me in trouble.
All I said was, are you saying Kirk's playlist is my playlist?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I just want to know how much you know me.
So I would assume that you would have some Taylor Swift on your playlist, right? No.
I wouldn't have Taylor Swift on my playlist. No.
Okay, I would think you would have Good Charlotte.
What is on your playlist, by the way? Let's go there.
Yeah, let you tell us what's on your playlist.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, I like you guys guessing better. This is what we're because you guessed because I am white and blonde. You think that I identify with Taylor Swift, and that's
not me. That was that guy in the lower box.
Jarvis.
The guy in the lower box.
Free, I need you to guess.
Sir. No, I'm bidding. I'm not in this. Like you stepped in this.
Anyway, continue. I'm sorry, but figure out my playlist and get back to me, okay? And yes, T, you're right. I don't listen to Kelly Clarkson in 3 Days Grace. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Listen, you guys are insane at this point.
Jump
okay,
in, Maria, and save it. Save us. Save us. Save us from Jarvis and the Everydayers.
Can I try to bring
so concerned. Continue.
Can I bring this show back? Can I at least attempt to try to bring the show back?
Please.
But yeah, like Kirkington doesn't need to be saying stuff like that. If you look at the timing of that statement,
yeah,
you're on a 5-game losing streak, bro. Do you know how upset everybody was? I don't care, black, white, green, yellow. Everybody was hot at you by revealing that you were hurt after the season because you trying to get you another contract or whatever, or you were trying to save face. Like you gotta, like T said, you gotta read the room, bro. Like that's just awful. Just awful. That's almost as bad as me trying to guess Maria's playlist. You know, like
Pretty bad.
you just don't do that. Don't do
no.
it. Don't embarrass yourself. That's what you did. And I just embarrassed myself because of you. It's your fault, Kirkington.
Well, I kind of like, let's see, Dynamite 404. This might be the best one. He says, I've been starting calling Cousins Kirkland instead of Kirko. He's definitely playing like a Costco brand QB.
Oh no.
Good. That's good.
You call him Costco instead of Kirko?
Oh
I
god.
like that.
People are on one this morning. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get back on track, I promise. But Maria, you know, you gotta have scratched your head at that comment from Kirk. Like, come on, Kirk, read the room, brother.
I know, poor Kirk. He just
Come on, bro.
cannot. He
Can't get it
cannot
right.
stop
That is
putting his
so
foot in
funny.
his mouth. I
Oh,
know. This is someone who I thought would have learned by
Right.
now in all the things that he has spewed out of his mouth. And look, Kirk is the utmost
From
professional.
the
I think
fines, being fined because he was in contact
Right.
with trainers and stuff. It's just
he's been great to be around, but my
Yes.
guy, just zip it sometimes. It's okay. You know, you don't have
Oh
to
my
say
God.
it all.
You
I
don't.
just don't think he cares. I just don't think he cares, you know, and he's read things that have been written about him. He gave a shot at D-Led yesterday. So he's in this era of like, I don't care. I'm going to say whatever. Just like me sticking up for myself and you thinking that freaking Kelly Clarkson is on my playlist and Yellow Card and whatever the hell else you guys said.
Yeah, Taylor Swift too, by the way. Yeah.
And shout out to Taylor. Look, she's lovely. I'm not saying I don't like her music. Okay, I've been to her concerts, you know, but I'm not like a Swiftie. That's my producer, Megan Smedley. She is a big Swiftie, as we all know. Whatever. But anyways, I'll get you my playlist after the show. I love that people are guessing. This is like very, very fun.
Right. That's the funny part.
Yes, but poor Kirk. I mean, just, you know, silence is a virtue, my friend. And you just don't have to say things sometimes, you know. You just say, hey, I feel good, leave it at that, the end, moving on. Nobody would ever think anything differently. Just, oh, sick, you feel good. All right, awesome. Not, I wouldn't tell you if I didn't. It's just the one more sentence that's so crazy. I don't know. Media training is something maybe we all need to get into because these guys still can't figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, Free, you would think a veteran that's been in this thing almost a decade and a half would simply know better.
Yeah, I love this. I love the fact that Kirk is still doing this. You know,
It's entertaining.
first time he speaks to the Falcons media, gets the Falcons busted for tampering, for running his mouth, and now he's doing it again, back in the starting
He
lineup.
called out D-Led too. Before
that's
he said
what's
that, he called out D-Led before he went into it.
So I love this. I thought it's hilarious because it's so bad. It's just like, Kirk, yeah, man, you never change Kirk. Never change Kirkland's signature. Never change. I love this stuff. You know, he's out here just putting his foot in his mouth all the time. You know, he's Kirk, right? You know, great clips, Colts, Cash, good Charlotte. You know, I got a little Ariana Grande on my playlist, so that would be running through in practice.
Hey,
There you go.
I do like Ariana
Okay,
Grande.
so saying with that said, I'll throw you guys a curveball before we go. Jarvis, Maria, Aaron, 2 songs, one or artists. One would be the one that you're like, hey, that's my ride or die. I got to hear this artist or this song when I need to get pumped up for whatever game day, game time. But I'm throwing you a curveball because your second song or artist has to be one on the playlist where everybody's gonna be like, whoa, dang, didn't see that one coming. Jarvis, go.
Oh, this is so hard. Let me look at my
Why
music.
had to go first? Gosh, can we go free?
Because you started
Because
this.
you
That's
started it.
why. You get to go
I can go
first.
first. I can go first. If
Okay,
Jarvis
Aaron,
needs some
save
time.
your guy. Save
So
your guy.
you know, if we're doing, I need to get pumped for football. It's probably Lil
Or whatever.
Jon.
No. It's for you. Like whatever pumps you up. I don't care if you're
Like
going to the
motivate-
gym, the
Oh,
grocery
okay.
store, or
Just,
football.
oh, okay. Just in
Your
general.
song.
Oh, I
Well,
got
you know,
that. Yeah, I'm good. But go ahead, free.
I'm a classic. You know, Michael Jackson. Just good vibes all the time. Just
That's
go
good.
down the Michael Jackson playlist. That's always a good time. Always a good time. And so, yeah, Ariana Grande is probably the one that people would be surprised how much of Ariana Grande I listen to. You know, but that's the one sort of curveball I got.
Ariana Grande.
I'm looking at my playlist right
Okay.
Oh.
Maria, do you want to go next?
now. No. Go ahead, Jarvis. 'Cause I'm
Jarvis.
looking through my
I got mine. So for me,
I like the Ariana Grande one though. Free. That's good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So for me, it has to be my number one artist would be Toby Nwigwe. He's a dope. Like Try Jesus, Not Me. It kind of speaks to like me. That speaks to me. That speaks to my soul. You know, that's one of those ones. And another guy that I feel like he was an underrated artist coming up, and now he's really coming into his own. It has to be Killer Mike. Killer Mike, that album that he dropped, oh my gosh, it's absolutely amazing. So amazing. So yeah. So it's Toby Nwigwe and Killer Mike.
Okay. Although, Jarvis, I'm gonna say, were we really shocked at Killer Mike? Like that I feel like you kind of cheated on that one. Atlanta, Killer Mike, like, you kind of cheated. But I'm gonna give you, because of the first artist, I'm gonna give you a pass.
Yeah.
Give you a pass. Maria.
Okay. I'm reading these comments. This is the most fun I've ever had in terms of music. This is so hilarious to me. And T, you were spot on. My music taste is incredibly eclectic. I like everything from classical music to, I don't know, think about the craziest thing you can think of. I'll probably say, yeah, I like it. So I was just scrolling through my little playlist here, and I'll give you one of each. So I feel like when I heard Kirk's music, like, yes, I know all of the people that were singing, but I'm not going to play Yellow Card to get amped up at practice. Like, that's just not the move for me.
Yeah.
But if you were going to go like a band, if we're going to stick with a band, my all-time favorite, those that know me really well, like I think everyone knows, Red Hot Chili Peppers are pinnacle for me. They're the best ever. Okay. I love them. I will do anything to go see them in concert again. But for me, a surprise, I saw some people saying Chris Brown on Maria's playlist. I love Chris Brown. I know every word to every song. What was the other one I saw? Gucci and Future are on my playlist. I looked through it, and there's a lot of Future on there. A lot of Gucci. I would say Glorilla. Like if I'm trying to like turn up at practice, I love Glorilla. She's the best.
Glow. I mess with Glow. You know what I'm saying? Get a Glow. You know
That's what I was about to say. Like literally, I don't think anyone will be shocked. Maybe Jarvis, because I don't know. He kind of puts me in a little box every now and again. You know, you put me in a box every now and again.
Maria got a mixtape out with 21 Savage. 21 Savage also on my playlist.
Yeah, 21
Savage is trash.
Like, yeah, like 21 goes crazy, people. 21 goes crazy.
In what way? In a positive way?
No, yes. Oh, Jarvis, fight with your mama on 21. Don't fight with your girl. Fight with the other T. Don't fight with
21
me.
raps like he rode the Shout Bus. Yes, I said it that way.
No. We don't have enough time to fight about 21.
Yes.
We don't have enough time to fight about 21.
Y'all can say what y'all want. Y'all not going to convince me that 21 Savage is
Jarvis,
anything that's entertaining and pleasant.
Maria, hey, free. Jarvis is now giving Get Off My Lawn. He's giving Get Off My Lawn.
This is the best show we've ever had. This is unreal.
But if I had to give you like the number one on my playlist, I got it or the 1A and 1B. Because if I'm feeling like in my hip hop space, it's gonna be Glow. But if I'm feeling like I'm in my R&B space, it's gonna be Chris Brown. Because I tell you, going to Breezy Bowl, that fool plays in my head on like a regular, like, I mean, he's living rent free in my head, and it's been 4 or 5 weeks, and like I can't get him out of my head. But honestly, and I would say on a random day, it would be like a Chris Stapleton, because I like singers. If you can blow, you can blow. So somebody told me about, I guess I missed a Chris Stapleton song of recent, and they, just sent me the Apple, they just sent Apple Music. Yeah. And I just keep playing it over and over again because I like good singers. If you can blow, I'm just going to listen. And yeah, we're not forgetting about, like, we have a playlist, Share the Light. Like, we all have a playlist. I was just curious to see like who you guys would put at the top of that playlist, if you will, and kind of who you guys would shock us with. And I thought you guys all had some really amazing stuff, which speaks to the fact that this is an eclectic show. We are not guys and girls that you can just assume or kind of make assumptions about.
Jarvis.
We are.
Free, why you laughing so hard, dog? Why you doing me like this, dog? Just gonna be on their side, dog. Like,
hey, Jarvis, my favorite part of doing this show is watching you get thrown under that bus and watching those wheels
that thing
roll
up. It's just like, God damn, bro.
Well, remember, Jarvis, I said until you watched my step show in its entirety and gave me love on social media, I told you I was going to keep ripping you apart. So until I see you give me my love on social media, this conversation continues, my guy. But I love you guys too, because you guys were in on the comments. John B, Jagged Edge. You guys had some really good ones that you were dropping in the comment section. And that's why we love our everydayers, because you guys are the reason we do what we do, even when it's tough to do what we do. But be sure to stop by Locked On Falcons with your host, Aaron Freeman, as your second listen. The Falcon Squad Show and Locked On Falcons are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And don't forget to check out Maria as well on 11 Alive each and every day. And of course, on Sunday nights as well. See you next time.